April 18, 1977, Quezon Valley, South Vietnam, 02:14 a.m. The jungle is a living, breathing thing tonight, humid, awake, and watching. A low mist clings to the ground as First Lieutenant Mark Ellison of Charlie Company, for 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry, wipes a bead of sweat from his brow. Even at this hour, the heat presses against the skin like a damp blanket. He kneels beside the narrow patrol trail boot, sinking slightly into the mud, and signals for the men behind him to halt. They freeze instantly, 12 silhouettes, rifles raised, eyes straining. No one speaks. No one dares disturb the dense canopy overhead or the chorus of insects vibrating in the dark. Ellison can feel it. That suffocating stillness, the kind that means the jungle is holding its breath. He grips his M16, scanning the blackness between the trees. The moonlight barely penetrates the leaves. Instead, everything is swallowed by shadow. Visibility is barely 10 meters. Perfect conditions for a Viet Cong night attack. Behind him, Sergeant Don McBride, grizzled and broad-shouldered, leans in close. "You sense it too, LT," he whispers. Ellison nods. "They're out there, watching us." Charlie Company had been probing the valley for 3 days, hunting signs of the Viet Cong 14th Regiment, a force well known for its deadly night ambushes. Every village abandoned, every rice paddy eerily empty. Tracks disappearing into hostile terrain. It all pointed to enemy forces that preferred to strike when American soldiers were blind, exhausted, and isolated. A faint rustle echoes from somewhere ahead. Ellison raises a clenched fist. Everyone freezes again, finger on triggers, eyes wide. Through the thick foliage he glimpses movement, small, subtle, calculated. Not the clumsy steps of wildlife, but the deliberate creeping of men who know the jungle like an extension of their own bodies. VC scouts, close, too close. Before he can signal a retreat, a distant thud echoes from the tree line. Then another. Then a third closer, almost inside their perimeter. McBride hisses. "Trip flares." "LT, they're tagging us." Ellison barely has time to shout, "Get down," before the jungle erupts. An explosion of white light blinds the patrol as trip flares ignite in a blinding burst, flooding the trees with harsh, unforgiving illumination. For a split second, Ellison can see everything: the tangled vines, the churned footsteps leading into the brush, and the unmistakable shapes of Viet Cong sappers crouched with rifles ready. Then comes the sound, a single sharp crack followed by a volley of automatic gunfire. AK-47 rounds slice through the air like angry hornets. Bark splinters from trees, sparks jump from rocks. Bullets slap into mud just inches from Ellison's face as he dives behind a fallen log. "Contact front," McBride roars. The patrol returns fire instantly, muzzles flashing in the wild glow of the burning flares. The jungle becomes a chaotic strobe of red tracers, smoke, and erupting gunfire. Ellison rises to a knee, firing controlled bursts, trying to pick out targets between the shifting shadows. But the VC are already moving fast, fluid, agile, darting between trees, firing in short, precise bursts to pin the Americans down. They aren't trying to destroy the patrol outright. They're hurting them. LT Private Harris screams from the rear. "We've got movement behind us." Ellison's blood runs cold. A classic Viet Cong L-shaped ambush. Front attack to fix the patrol in place, rear assault to seal the trap. He feels the vibration underfoot, more sappers crawling through the undergrowth, closing the distance. Grenade pins clicking free. Footsteps circling. The jungle around him erupts again, this time from the flanks. Mortar rounds thump in the distance, their whistles slicing through the canopy before slamming into the earth nearby, shaking leaves loose from the treetops. Shouts ring out in Vietnamese, short, sharp, commanding. The VC aren't just attacking, they're coordinating, closing in for the kill. Ellison ducks as a burst of AK fire tears through the branches above him, showering him with bark and leaves. He looks at McBride, whose face is smeared with mud and adrenaline. "They're surrounding us," Ellison whispers. McBride nods grimly. "They've been tracking us all night." Ellison's heart pounds. He knows the VC excel at this: night ambushes, sudden engagements, overwhelming shock, then vanishing into the darkness before reinforcements can arrive. His patrol is deep exposed and alone. Fall back to the creek bed, Ellison shouts, "Move, move." The squad begins shifting toward the south, firing as they retreat. Harris lobs a grenade into the trees, the blast momentarily clearing their path. Leaves rain down like shredded confetti. But as the Americans scramble through the foliage, Ellison sees it. The faintest glint of metal, low to the ground, exactly where they're running. A buried Chi-Com mine, half hidden beneath leaves. His breath catches. Too late. A deafening blast tears through the jungle, engulfing the path in fire, earth, and shrapnel. The shockwave hits Ellison like a hammer, throwing him backward into the mud. His ears ring. His vision blurs. Voices dissolve into a distant hum. Somewhere in the smoke, the Viet Cong begin shouting again, closer now, advancing. The night is far from over, and the ambush has only just begun. Ellison's ears are still ringing when he forces himself upright, palms slipping in the wet mud. The smoke is thick, hot, metallic, and choking, and somewhere inside it the patrol's formation has shattered. Shadows move, stumbling, crawling, dragging wounded men away from the blast zone. The burning flare behind them flickers weaker now, casting erratic beams through the haze. A hand clamps onto Ellison's shoulder. "LT. LT. You good?" Sergeant McBride crouches beside him, gripping his arm, eyes sharp, even in the chaos. Ellison blinks hard, forcing the world to sharpen. "I'm up." "Sound off, how many did we lose?" McBride doesn't answer immediately. His jaw tightens. 3 down from the mine. Harris is hit bad. Thompson's gone. Ellison swallows the rising panic. There's no time to mourn, no time to breathe. The VC never strike once. They break the formation, and then collapse around the survivors like a net. Automatic fire erupts again from the left flank. Tracers streak horizontally, ripping through the bushes just inches above their crouch forms. Down McBride shouts, pulling Ellison into the dirt as rounds crack overhead. The VC are closing in. He hears their footfalls, soft and coordinated, moving like phantoms. No shouted commands now, just quiet whistles and hand signals. They're tightening the ring. Ellison spits out mud and whispers, "We don't move now. We're dead." McBride nods grimly. Creekbed's still our best shot. But the problem becomes clear as soon as Ellison peeks over a fallen tree. The path to the creek is alive with shadows. Dozens of them. Figures in black pajamas, crouched, low rifles braced against trees waiting. Their movements are deliberate, patient. The VC aren't rushing. They're shaping the battlefield. Ellison wipes grime from his face and gestures for the squad to regroup. One by one, battered silhouettes crawl into position behind him, Corporal Ruiz clutching his M60, Private Boyd, his helmet dented from shrapnel, Specialist Carter, face pale as chalk with fear. Ruiz whispers, "Sir, they're everywhere. They're closing in like they knew our route." "They did," Ellison replies. "Tripwires flares mine placement. They've been tracking us for hours." A sudden shrill whistle pierces the night. Then everything happens at once. A barrage of AK fire erupts from the northern ridge, hammering the patrol's new position. Rounds slam into the trees, kicking splinters into their faces. Ruiz fires the M60 in a sweeping arc, its muzzle flash strobing violently as he shouts for more belts. From the opposite direction, grenades arc through the air, small egg-shaped Chi-Com grenades, their fuses burning bright. McBride grabs Ellison and shoves him behind a root knuckle as the explosives detonate, blasting dirt into the sky and showering them with razor-sharp fragments. "LT. We can't stay pinned," Carter calls out, eyes wide. Ellison's mind races. He remembers the maps, the patrol routes, the terrain, the VC's likely fallback positions. This isn't a random ambush, it's a funnel. They're being herded again, not toward the creek, but toward the ridge. Another whistle, closer, more urgent. McBride growls, movement on the right, and then the jungle erupts with shadows, figures darting through the undergrowth, sprinting low, barely visible. They fire quick bursts, then vanish behind trees before return fire can track them. It isn't an assault, it's a probe, a test of American reaction. Ellison fires 2 controlled bursts, forcing 1 shadow back. They're gauging our numbers, trying to see how many are still alive. Not many, McBride mutters. Ellison clenches his jaw. The VC are setting up the killing blow. He knows this pattern: break them, fragment them, isolate the survivors, then overrun with a final charge. Ruiz slams another belt into the M60 and growls, "Order it LT. Just tell us where you want to die fighting." Ellison looks at his men, filthy, exhausted, terrified, and something inside him snaps into place. "We're not dying," he says softly. "We're breaking out." He points toward a narrow gap between 2 massive banyan trees, almost fully swallowed by vines. Hardly a trail at all, but a weakness in the encirclement. A place the VC might overlook. McBride follows his gaze. His eyes widen. "That's suicide, LT." Ellison shakes his head. "No, it's our only way out before they close the ring." A burst of AK fire rips into the dirt beside them, forcing everyone flat again. Ellison whispers urgently, "On my signal." We punch through that gap. The men nod, hesitant but ready. Another set of whistles echoes from the jungle. The VC final assault is moments away. Ellison grips his M16, steadies his breath, and raises his fist. "Get ready." Ellison's fist trembles in the air, not from fear, but from the raw tension coursing through every fiber of his body. The jungle vibrates with approaching footsteps. The whistle signals grow sharper, closer, merging into a haunting rhythmic cadence that crawls under the skin. The VC are minutes, no seconds, from launching their final charge. McBride grips his shoulder. "LT, now or never." Ellison nods. "Go." He surges forward, sprinting low through the vines and thick undergrowth. His boots pound the mud, his breath burning in his throat. Behind him, the squad follows in a staggered line, Ruiz lugging the M60, Boyd firing blind bursts to their rear, Carter dragging Harris by the webbing of his flak vest. The jungle explodes behind them. A deafening roar of gunfire erupts as the VC unleash their assault. AK-47 rounds slice through branches. Grenades burst like thunderclaps. A storm of shrapnel shreds foliage into confetti. Ellison doesn't look back. He can't. One glance at the carnage behind them and he'll freeze. "Keep moving," he shouts, swatting away vines as he dives through the narrow gap between the banyan trees. The moment he crosses through, everything changes. The noise muffles slightly. The light dims. The jungle thickens into a suffocating tunnel of roots, vines, and twisting limbs. Ruiz crashes through behind him, panting heavily. "Jesus, this place is tighter than a tunnel rat crawl. Better than a kill zone." McBride grunts as he ushers Carter and Boyd through, bullets snapping off the trees beside him. A flare arcs overhead, bathing the canopy in a ghostly orange glow. Ellison sees the silhouettes of VC fighters swarming toward the gap behind them, fast alert rifles raised. "They've spotted us," Carter shouts. "Move deeper," Ellison orders. But the terrain worsens. Vines yank at their gear, roots trip their feet. Every meter forward becomes a battle against the jungle itself. Harris groans as he's dragged, blood streaking the leaves behind him. A fresh volley of gunfire rips through the gap, missing them by inches. McBride slams a fresh magazine into his rifle. "They're funneling after us." "Let them choke on it," Ruiz snarls, swinging the M60 up onto a mossy log. Ellison's eyes widen. "Ruiz, no. We need to save the ammo." Too late. The machine gun erupts in a savage roar muzzle, flashing like a lightning storm inside the cramped jungle corridor. Tracers tear through the narrow entrance, forcing the VC scrambling into cover. Screams pierce the night. Bodies drop. But Ruiz is exposed, too exposed. "Rise!" Carter shouts as a bullet smashes into the M60's receiver, sparks flying. Ruiz is knocked backward, crashing into the mud, breath blasted from his chest. "Get him up," Ellison orders. Boyd and Carter lift Ruiz as McBride drags the disabled M60 away from the entrance. Another burst of AK fire whistles by. The VC are regrouping, regaining their momentum. Ellison's heart pounds. They can't stay here. They can't outrun the VC. Harris can barely breathe. Ruiz is half-conscious. Their ammo is thinning fast. He scans the dense jungle around them. Then he sees it a faint depression in the terrain, a slope leading downward into a gully thick with ferns and mist, not marked on their map, not part of any known trail. Perfect. He signals sharply. Down the ravine. Move. The squad stumbles down the uneven slope, sliding on mud branches, slapping against their helmets. The jungle closes behind them like a curtain, muffling the approaching VC cries. For a fleeting moment, the forest seems silent again. Ellison helps guide Harris down the final ledge into the gully. The wounded private winces, teeth clenched. LT. They're not gonna stop. They want us dead. Ellison squeezes his shoulder. Then we make them earn every inch. A sudden crack echoes from above. The squad freezes. Ellison looks up. Silhouettes appear along the ridgeline, dozens of them. VC fighters standing against the faint moonlight rifles, low scanning. They tracked the squad down the slope. Ellison curses under his breath. Ambush Team Second Element, McBride mutters. They cut us off. A chilling whistle drifts through the trees. The VC begin descending the slope, moving with eerie calm like hunters closing in on wounded prey. Ellison realizes with horror that the ravine isn't a refuge. It's a trap, a natural choke point, and the enemy knows it. He raises his rifle. Form a line, tight, prepare to repel. The squad scrambles into position, forming a semicircle around the wounded. Above them, the VC continue moving down the slope, silent, relentless, unstoppable. Ellison steadies his breath. This is where they make their stand. The ravine feels alive, breathing, pulsing, tightening around them like the throat of some ancient beast. Mist rolls in thick coils along the ground, swirling around Ellison's boots as he plants himself behind a tangle of fallen branches. The air is cold here, colder than the jungle above, and every exhale forms a ghostly white cloud in front of his lips. Above them, the silhouettes of VC fighters multiply as if the tree line itself is spawning them. Shapes move effortlessly between tree trunks. Their descent is quiet, practiced, almost ritualistic. McBride grits his teeth. They're coming in disciplined. This ain't some hit-and-run squad. This is a full platoon. Ellison knows he's right. The VC weren't simply harassing them, they were hunting them, herding them, steering Charlie Company's patrol with perfect precision into this ravine where the Americans' limited visibility and inability to maneuver would cripple them. Ruiz coughs, spitting out dirt as he props himself against a tree. LT, tell me we're not dying in a ditch. We're not. Ellison replies, though. His stomach twists with doubt. We hold them long enough for reinforcements to pick up our distress flare. Carter checks his watch. That flare went up 20 minutes ago. Closest element is Bravo Company. That's 40 minutes out minimum. Boyd mutters, we don't got 40 minutes. The first shots come from the ridge, quick, probing bursts. AK fire snaps into the ravine walls, showering the squad with dirt. Ellison ducks low, scanning for muzzle flashes. But the VC are careful. Smart. They fire 1 or 2 rounds at a time from different angles, using the mist to cloak their numbers. Don't shoot yet, Ellison whispers. Let them come closer. The squad stays motionless, silent, tense. Every heartbeat thunders in Ellison's ears. The VC advance continues, slow, patient, like wolves chewing down the distance between them and a wounded prey. A twig snaps near the right flank. Ellison turns sharply. A shadow descends the slope, then another. 2 black-clad sappers move with terrifying swiftness, crouched low with AKs tucked tight into their shoulders. They're close, too close. Open fire, Ellison roars. The ravine explodes with muzzle flashes. Boyd and McBride unleash a wall of bullets into the advancing shadows. The sappers drop, rolling lifelessly down the slope, weapons flying from their hands. More figures appear behind them, 6, 8, maybe 10, fanning out as they return fire. The ridge erupts with muzzle flashes. Shots whip through the ravine, chewing through ferns, punching into mud, slamming into tree trunks. The squad huddles behind what little cover they have, returning fire in desperate bursts. Ruiz fights to stand, leaning on Carter as he shoulders the damaged M60. The barrel is warped, the feed plate dented, but he tries anyway. The weapon jams instantly. Damn it, Ruiz barks, throwing the useless machine gun aside. Another grenade arcs down the slope, small round, clattering over roots. Hit the deck. The explosion rocks the ravine, slamming Ellison's helmet against a tree. His ears ring and his vision momentarily whites out. When the haze clears, Boyd is clutching his forearm, blood spraying between his fingers. I'm hit. McBride yanks him behind cover. Tourniquet now. Ellison peers upward. More VC are descending 15 at least. Some move in coordinated fire teams, others to flank the ravine edges. Their discipline is unnerving. They advance with relentless purpose, never bunching up, never exposing themselves for too long. This isn't a simple ambush. This is a planned annihilation. L.T. Carter calls out, voice thin with fear. We're running low. 4 mags left between all of us. Ellison bites his lip hard enough to taste blood. Weapons clicking empty, men bleeding, the VC tightening the noose. He feels the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. Every second he hesitates is another second the VC tighten their ring. Another step closer to the final charge. Then McBride shouts, LT, look. Ellison follows his gaze. At the far end of the ravine, deep through the mist, something glints faintly. A break in the fog. A movement of air. A shimmer of reflected moonlight. A way out. A narrow split between 2 rock faces. A possible escape route. But to reach it, they must cross open terrain fully exposed to the ridge and the advancing VC fighters. Ellison wipes grime from his eyes, breathing fast. That's our exit. Boyd groans. We'll get shredded trying to reach it. Carter whispers, we're shredded staying here. Another volley of AK rounds cracks overhead. A bullet zips past Ellison's cheek, close enough that he feels its heat. The enemy is closing the last 20 meters. Ellison's voice turns to steel. Prepare to move on my mark. McBride stares at him. LT, this is a run through hell. Then we run fast. The VC are so close now that Ellison can see their faces' hard, determined eyes glinting with resolve. They tighten their formation, spreading across the slope like a dark wave. Ellison raises his rifle. A single breath steadies him. On my signal. The ravine fills with the sound of enemy boots sliding down the slope. Get ready. The ravine vibrates as the VC close the distance. Boots scrape against mud. Branches snap under their weight. Their shadows spill down the slope like a living tide, each fighter advancing in perfect coordination. Ellison can feel his pulse hammering behind his eyes. Smoke out, he yells. McBride and Carter yank the pins from their last 2 smoke grenades and hurl them forward. The canisters hiss violently as thick white clouds erupt, billowing across the ravine floor and swallowing the battlefield in swirling, opaque fog. Go, go now, Ellison shouts. The squad lunges forward, half crawling, half running through the mist. Bullets tear into the smoke, cutting silver lines that zip past their ears. The VC fire-blind sweeping arcs through the whiteness, hoping to hit anything that moves. Carter drags Harris beside him, practically carrying the wounded private who groans through clenched teeth. Ruiz limps with Boyd's help, his face pale but determined. McBride stays near Ellison, firing bursts behind them to slow the advancing shadows, but the VC push forward relentlessly, silhouettes slicing into the smoke, their forms ghostly and formless. Some slide down on their backs to maintain accuracy while moving. Others fire-controlled, disciplined bursts, advancing in perfect 3-man teams. Ellison sprints through the gully roots, clawing at his legs. The split in the rock, their only hope, glimmers faintly ahead. A tight, jagged opening just wide enough for 1 man at a time. If they can reach it, they might funnel through and break contact. A bullet whips past Ellison's ear so close it leaves a burning sting. Another slams into the mud inches from his hand. Left flank. They're cutting us off, McBride shouts. Silhouettes emerge through the thinning smoke, VC fighters clustering on the left side of the ravine, attempting to intercept the squad before they reach the split. Suppressing fire, Ellison orders. Boyd raises his rifle one-handed, his wounded arm strapped tight with a tourniquet, and fires a desperate series of shots. McBride joins him, yelling through the chaos as he empties his magazine. The VC stagger under the sudden retaliation, but more figures spill in behind them, filling the gap like water flooding a breach. The squad is almost at the split now. "Move faster," Ellison barks. "They're on top of us." Carter dives through the opening first, dragging Harris with him. Boyd stumbles through after gasping, face dripping sweat and blood. Ruiz limps in next, panting hard. Then Ellison feels the ground shift like a tremor beneath his boots. He turns. A squad of VC fighters is charging down the slope directly at him, and McBride sappers in front rifles tucked tight, bayonets fixed. "LT, they're rushing us," McBride shouts. Ellison doesn't think. He moves. He slams his shoulder into McBride's, pushing him toward the split. "Go." McBride stumbles forward, squeezing through the narrow opening. Ellison turns back toward the charging sappers. He fires. The first sapper drops. The second keeps coming. The third leaps through the last shreds of smoke, screaming. Ellison swings his rifle like a club, smashing the buttstock into the man's jaw. The sapper collapses sideways, but not before plunging his bayonet into Ellison's shoulder, slicing deep through muscle. Ellison screams, shoving the fighter away. His arm goes numb. His rifle drops into the mud. "LT, get in here." McBride's voice echoes from the slit in the rocks. Ellison stumbles backward, clutching his shoulder. A fresh wave of VC fighters emerges from the mist, close, too close. Their rifles rise as one. He throws himself into the split at the last second. Bullets rake the rock face behind him, sparking off the stone as he falls through the narrow opening into darkness. He lands hard on the other side, rolling across uneven ground. McBride and Carter drag him further in as rounds continue sparking off the rocks outside. "Seal the entrance," Ellison gasps. McBride and Boyd yank a fallen tree trunk across the narrow gap, wedging it between the rock walls. Carter and Ruiz kick dirt and debris over it, masking the opening as best they can. Outside, the VC reach the split and pound against the rocks, shouting orders, firing blindly into the dark crevice. But the passage is too narrow for them to enter without crawling one by one, and they know it's suicide. Their shouts fade slowly, boots crunch away on gravel, then silence. Ellison slumps against the rock, breathing hard, shoulder burning with pain. Carter leans in. "LT, I think we lost them." McBride shakes his head slowly. "No, they're not gone. They're repositioning. We broke contact, but they'll be waiting outside." Ellison grips his collar, steadying himself. "We're alive, that's what matters. But this isn't over." He winces as another throb of pain runs down his arm. The cave around them is dark, cramped and cold, but it is temporary refuge. Outside, the VC wait, patient, silent, ready. Ellison steals his breath. "We push deeper, find another exit. We keep moving until we make it out of this valley." The squad nods, exhausted but resolute. And together they follow the narrow passage into the bowels of the jungle. The narrow passage swallows them whole. Ellison leads with his good arm pressed against the cold stone wall, feeling his way forward. The cavern twists unpredictably, sometimes wide enough for two men to crouch side by side, other times so tight they must turn sideways and slide through with their chests scraping rock. Their breaths echo unnervingly. Every sound feels too loud. Somewhere above them, the jungle murmurs. Somewhere behind them, the VC wait. McBride keeps glancing over his shoulder. "LT, you sure this goes anywhere?" "No," Ellison admits. "But the VC didn't follow us in. That means they know it leads somewhere we can escape. Or somewhere they don't want to go," Boyd mutters under his breath. The tunnel dips suddenly. Ellison slips, nearly falling, but Ruiz catches him with a steady hand. Despite his injuries, Ruiz forces a grin. "Easy, LT, don't go dying before we do." Ellison smirks through the pain, not planning on it. They descend deeper until the passage opens into a wider chamber, a pocket of stone veined with damp roots. Moonlight filters through cracks overhead, casting thin silver beams across the cavern floor. The air smells of wet earth and distant water. Carter kneels to adjust Harris's splint. "LT, Harris needs evac soon. He's fading." Ellison crouches beside the wounded private. "Stay with us, Harris. Just a little longer." Harris forces a weak smile. "Sir, you owe me a beer after this." We both know I'll buy you a whole crate, Ellison replies. A faint breeze brushes Ellison's face, cool, fresh, unmistakably open air. He follows it to a series of tangled roots, forming a natural archway. Beyond it, faint moonlight glimmers. There, he says softly. An exit. McBride moves to his side. Hold up. Could be VC waiting at the mouth. Ellison nods. He hands McBride his flashlight and points. Keep it off, but be ready. They crawl forward quietly. Every crunch of gravel feels like a thunderclap. When they reach the end of the passage, Ellison parts the roots gently and peeks out. A sloping hillside, tall grass swaying, the silhouettes of distant tree lines, and no VC in sight. Only the steady, soft rustle of nighttime wind. We're clear, Ellison whispers. One by one, the squad emerges from the hillside into a moonlit glade. The mist has lifted slightly, revealing a faint trail leading downhill. The jungle ahead is dense, but open enough to move quickly. Boyd lets out a shaky sigh. Feels too good to be true. Stay sharp, McBride warns. We're not out yet. Ellison steadies himself and raises his radio. This is Charlie 7. Any station, respond. Only static. He tries again. Bravo Company. This is Charlie 7. We are alive and moving south of Quezon Valley. Request immediate extraction. A long pause. Then, Charlie 7, this is Bravo Actual. We copy. Ellison shuts his eyes in relief. Bravo Actual, we'll pop a flare at your call. What's your position? Moving to your last known grid. Keep southbound and stay concealed. VC activity still heavy in your area. McBride claps Ellison's shoulder gently. You did it, LT. Not yet, Ellison replies. We still need to reach them. The squad moves cautiously, staying low through the tall grass. The forest ahead seems endless, but with every step they gain distance from the ravine of death. Harris groans occasionally, but Carter murmurs encouragement. Ruiz limps, but keeps pace. Boyd breathes heavily, pain etched into his face, but his rifle never lowers. Then a flare arcs into the sky far to the south, blooming bright green. Ellison stops. That's Bravo. That's our pickup point. Almost there, McBride murmurs. They press on, hearts pounding with exhaustion and hope. The jungle seems to thin slightly. The night air feels cooler, clearer, and soon faint shapes appear between the trees. American helmets. M16 silhouettes. Familiar voices. Charlie Company, a voice calls out. Ellison steps forward, raising a trembling hand. Charlie 7 friendlies. Bravo Company rushes to meet them. Corpsmen grab Harris immediately, lowering him carefully onto a stretcher. More soldiers help Ruiz and Boyd. McBride gets Ellison's arm around his shoulder, supporting him as they walk toward the medics. You all look like hell, one Bravo soldier remarks. McBride chuckles, exhausted. You should see the guys who tried to kill us. Ellison looks back toward the dark valley behind them, the misty tree line now distant and quiet. The jungles of Quezon swallow their dead, and their secrets erasing any trace of the night's violence. But Ellison will never forget the ambush, the trip flares, the mine, the ravine, the desperate run through hell, nor the men who survived it. As the first hints of dawn glow faintly on the horizon, Ellison finally exhales. They lived through the most dangerous night the valley had ever seen, and together they walk toward the rising sun.